Michael was carefully extracting the DNA from an alien creature with a syringe, but his mischievous assistant sneaked up behind him and covered his eyes. Already on edge, Michael accidentally stabbed the alien creature's eye with the needle, which enraged the creature and led it to bite Michael fiercely. Michael tried to break free, but the alien creature refused to let go, leaving Michael with no choice but to smash the experiment box forcefully. Seeing his palm getting infected, Michael couldn't care about the escaping alien creature. He quickly grabbed a bottle of sulfuric acid from the cabinet and instructed his assistant Nancy to disinfect the wound immediately. Although hesitant, Nancy poured the entire bottle of acid down, causing Michael's expression to contort with intense pain, but the outcome was not optimistic as the infection continued to spread up his arm. Nancy panicked and could only call for backup. Soon, Elliot arrived at the laboratory. Seeing Michael's fully infected hand, Elliot was incredulous, having never seen such an injury before. Elliot, learning that Michael was infected with a type of alien virus that could replicate indefinitely, expressed that he was at a loss on how to proceed. Suddenly, Michael began to convulse uncontrollably, a clear sign the virus was invading his body. Seeing this, Elliot had no choice but to inject Michael with a sedative and then prepare to take him to the hospital for treatment. However, at that moment, the laboratory's director, Violini, appeared at the door, preventing them from leaving. It turned out the laboratory's research on alien life was illegal, and exposure would not only destroy their research results but also subject the entire company to investigation. Reluctantly, they had to support Michael to the medical room for treatment there, but Michael's mutation speed was too fast. Within a few hours, the virus had spread throughout his body. The human cells in his body were being slowly replaced by alien cells, and his appearance was undergoing terrifying changes. No one knew what Michael would ultimately become. Elliot was helpless in this situation. He could only try to extract some samples to see if he could find a way to stop Michael's mutation. As soon as the needle pierced, a bug flew out of Michael's body, startling them. Elliot carefully captured the bug and placed it on the experiment table, noticing that this flesh worm had sharp teeth. The consequences of being bitten by this mutant bug would be unimaginable. After dealing with the bug, Elliot's attempts at treatment hit a deadlock again. Meanwhile, Michael's condition worsened, his appearance rapidly losing human characteristics. Seeing Michael in pain, Elliot wanted to give him a shot to ease it, but in his panic, Elliot accidentally dropped the syringe into Michael's body. When Violini and Nancy arrived at the treatment room, Elliot had finally retrieved the syringe. Unexpectedly, Michael's body had a corrosive nature and had corroded the syringe beyond recognition, but fortunately, Elliot did not give up on treating Michael. After relentless attempts, Elliot finally made a breakthrough. He found a way to kill the alien cells, which was the ion accelerator before them. After several successful tests, they finally smiled for the first time in a long while. Nancy was eager to use it on Michael right away, but Elliot said that the machine's power was too low to completely kill the alien cells in Michael's body. They needed to build a bigger accelerator. After days of hard work, a large enough accelerator was finally built, but before they could test its effectiveness, they noticed Michael's condition worsening again, and even the specimens in the medical room started to become restless, as if something terrifying was about to be born. As Michael's heartbeat and blood pressure skyrocketed, countless tentacles burst out from his body, leaving Elliot and Nancy completely at a loss. Elliot quickly asked Nancy to report the situation to Violini. The current situation no longer allowed them to wait. They had to use the giant accelerator to treat Michael immediately. After Nancy left, Elliot quickly took out a sedative to calm Michael down, but before he could administer the injection, Michael had completely transformed into a monster with sharp teeth and a pointed beak. In the next second, the monster extended its tentacles, grabbed Elliot, and violently threw him across the room. As the monster broke free from its restraints, the laboratory's security system immediately sounded an alarm, and the on-duty security guard, John, hurried over to check. John had just reached the door of the medical room when he collided with a dying Elliot. The inside of the medical room was in shambles. All the specimens had escaped. At that moment, John was unaware of the danger. Suddenly, he heard a noise behind him. Before he could turn around, he was grabbed by a monster lurking in the dark and killed before he could get a clear look at it. Then the monster fled out of the medical room, and the alien being slipped out after it. By the time Nancy arrived with Violini, all they saw were mutilated bodies. Seeing the situation spiral out of control, Violini had no choice but to report to the company. Soon, two men arrived at Violini's office. Jarek and Mitchell, professionals hired by the company at a high cost, were tasked with handling such emergencies. From Nancy's account, The two learned the entire course of events, but they didn't know what the monster looked like or where it was hiding. While they were discussing strategies, Violini suddenly received a call from the guardhouse saying someone was looking for someone here. It turned out to be John's daughter, who came to the company because her father had not returned home and she couldn't reach his phone. But Violini lied, claiming her father hadn't come to work yesterday, and dismissed her with vague explanations. Violini then specifically instructed Jarrett and Mitchell to eliminate the monster as soon as they found it, making sure it didn't escape the building and leaving no evidence behind. Back home, Sherry became more suspicious. Feeling Violini was hiding something, she shared her concerns with her sister Kim and her boyfriend Brian. After checking their father's phone messages, they learned he had gone to the company but had rushed out so quickly he forgot his access card. Realizing Violini was lying, they disguised themselves as researchers and went to the company to investigate further. Using John's access card, they successfully snuck into the building without the security guard noticing anything unusual. To find their father quickly, they decided to split up. Meanwhile, Jarrett and Mitchell also began searching the building for the monster. When they saw a mutated dog, Jarrett shot it dead without hesitation. Hearing the gunshots, Mitchell came over, believing this creature was the alien being. They decided to call it a day, clock out, and leave. At this time, Sherry and Brian had quietly slipped into Violini's office and found their father's time card records on the computer, convincing Sherry that something had happened to her father. Just then, Jarrett and Mitchell burst into the office. An emotional Sherry immediately confronted them about her father's whereabouts, but Jarrett pushed her out of the way. A fight broke out, and Brian was quickly subdued. Seeing no other option, Sherry decided to run, with Mitchell chasing after her. Meanwhile, Kim encountered the real monster while searching for her father. Mitchell arrived just in time to see the true monster. He pushed Kim aside and emptied his magazine at the monster, but the bullets had no effect on the monster, and Mitchell was instead grabbed by its tentacles. Kim was so scared that she ran away, but she met Nancy on the way. Kim said that there was a scary monster behind her. For safety, Nancy ushered Kim into a laboratory, insisting it was secure and urging her not to leave. Learning Kim was John's daughter and that her sister and brother-in-law were also here looking for their father, the considerate Nancy set off to help find them. Meanwhile, Sherry, who was fleeing, was once again caught by Jarrett, who was in hot pursuit. Just as Jarrett unleashed his fury on Sherry, Brian arrived in time to help, only to be overpowered by Jarrett again. In a moment of crisis, the monster suddenly appeared and devoured Jarrett in one bite. Brian, attempting to escape, was caught by the monster's tentacles. Sherry took the opportunity to run, using her access card to open a steel door. She ran into Kim hiding there, and the sisters were finally reunited. But the monster caught up, trapping them in the laboratory. With no way out, they prepared to fight for their lives. Just as Sherry was about to act, she was caught by the monster's tentacle. Kim saw this and hurriedly picked up a bottle of acid and threw it at the monster, which immediately let go of its tentacles in pain. However, the attack was ineffective, and the monster's tentacles reached for Sherry once more. At that moment, Violini, having returned to the company with security guards, arrived. Violini pulled out a gun and fired several shots at the monster, only to be killed by the creature with a swift move. The security guard, seeing this, ran away in fear. Nancy, who has arrived, tries to save them, but is also killed by the monster. The sisters managed to escape the laboratory amidst the chaos, bumping into Mitchell, who had narrowly escaped death. They decided to escape together, but the security system had locked the steel doors ahead. And to make matters worse, the monster was catching up. Sherry attempted to pry open the circuit board of the access system in hopes of disrupting the circuits to open the steel door. This tactic worked, and as the monster lunged at them, they successfully opened the door and trapped the monster inside. However, the monster began slamming against the door, threatening to break through eventually. Fortunately, the giant ion accelerator was nearby. Mitchell quickly turned it on, ready to use it against the monster. When the accelerator was ready, Mitchell decided to lure the monster himself. He had just reached the door when he saw the monster break through. Mitchell fired at the monster, trying to draw it into the center of the device, but the monster caught him with its tentacles. Determined to die fighting, Mitchell grabbed the tentacle and pulled, dragging the monster towards him. Sherry in the control room saw the situation and hurriedly pressed the switch. A stream of energy instantly poured down. After a lot of painful struggle, monster slowly turned back to human form. It seemed the accelerator worked, but Mitchell was not ready to spare Michael. remembering the company's orders. But just as Mitchell was about to act, Michael gave him a sinister smile, his continuously rising corners of the mouth grotesquely twisting to occupy his entire face. Before Mitchell could react, Michael transformed again, biting him. Clearly, the alien cells within him were still active. As the monster devoured Mitchell, Sherry activated the accelerator again. This time at full power, the monster tried to destroy the device overhead, but Sherry managed to pin the monster's head down with the machine's controls. When the energy reached a critical point, Sherry pressed the button. The high-powered accelerator unleashed a blast directly at the monster, completely annihilating it and leaving no trace of the body. After the crisis, the sisters supported each other as they walked out, surprised to find Brian also survived. But as they prepared to leave the building, they were startled by the sight of another grotesque alien creature. However, the creature seemed uninterested in them and broke through the ceiling to escape. The monster had become enormous as soon as it emerged, suggesting an even greater disaster was about to unfold.